There has always been something timeless about the way boats connect us to the vast unknown. They are more than wood, sail, or steel. They are vessels of longing. The water calls us with both danger and promise, inviting us to explore horizons just out of our reach. In their bow and stern, boats have carried out not only goods and armies, but also dreams, faith, and hope, bridging continents, shaping cultures, and bringing humanity to the tides of discovery and conquest. They remind us that every great journey, whether across oceans or within ourselves, begins with courage to push away from shore. The year was 1787. A proud ship, newly rifted at the Deptford Dockyard in England, slipped into the main river there in London. Her name, the HMS Bounty. Not a ship of war, not a merchant vessel, but a humble transport. Her mission seemed simple enough. Sail halfway around the world to Tahiti, gather breadfruit plants, and bring them back to the West Indies as cheap food for enslaved laborers. A plan born of empire, profit, and endless hunger for control. But as you know, things did not go as planned. The voyage was long, seas cruel, and discipline aboard the Bounty harsher still. Commanded by Lieutenant William Bligh, the ship left England in December 1787. By the time it reached Tahiti, the crew had weathered storms, scarcity, and Bligh's sharp tongue. Then came the paradise of Tahiti, a paradise so intoxicating, so unlike the rigid decks of the Bounty, that men forgot their misery and they found freedom, love, and life among the Tahitian people. And when it came time to leave, some of them didn't want to go. April 28th, 1789, a date forever etched in maritime history, Fletcher Christian, who was Blight's second-in-command, led a mutiny at dawn. Blight and his loyalists were set adrift on a small boat on the Pacific, left to die. Yet Blight, with nothing but courage, charts, and willpower, sailed more than 3,600 nautical miles to safety. An open boat voyage still considered one of the greatest feats of navigation in history. But what for the mutineers? Fletcher Christian and his band of rebels, hunted by the Royal Navy, knew that there would be no forgiveness. They sought refuge in a place the world could not find them. They took their Tahitian companions and set sail into the blue unknown. In January of 1790, they found it, a volcanic speck on the map, nearly invisible in the vast Pacific, the Pitcairn Islands. Remote, isolated, rugged. These mutineers burned the Bounty to the waterline and hid their tracks. Its blackened timbers still today rest below the waves, a grave marker to their desperate flight. On that lonely rock, they built a new society, a strange one, a mix of English sailors and Polynesian men and women stitched together by necessity. It was not paradise. Violence flared, rivalries turned deadly. Fletcher Christian himself did not live long to enjoy his freedom, but over time, the survivors and their children carved out a life. They raised families and farmed and prayed. They carried with them the legacy of both England and Tahiti, blended into something unique, and somehow the community endured. Even today, Pitcairn Island remains one of the most remote inhabited places on Earth, a population of just a few dozen, all descended from the mutineers and their Polynesian companions. No airport, no harbor. Supplies arrive by ship only a few times a year, and yet there is pride, resilience, and cultural thread that stretches back to that faithful day aboard the Bounty. So what does all of this have to do with this coin? Well, coins are storytellers, silent but powerful. They capture not only silver and shine, but memory. When you hold a coin, like this from the Pitcairn Islands, struck with the image of the HMS Bounty, you hold more than precious metal. You hold rebellion and survival. You hold the clash of empire and freedom discipline, and desire. You hold the legacy of men and women who risked everything for a different life, and a place where history washed ashore and refused to leave. This coin links you to a story not just of mutiny, but of humanity. The yearning of freedom, the weight of consequence, the way cultures, when thrown together, can create something new and enduring. So the next time you see the sails of the Bounty glimmering on a silver coin or round, remember, it isn't just a ship, it's a symbol of choices made, lives lost, and a tiny island that still carries the echoes of one of history's most daring adventures. Another connection you might note is that the USA is the #1 trade partner for this small island, and that is at about 50% of its imports. This is probably due to imports and exports as a basis of dollar value and not products. Construction vehicles, refined petroleum, beef, computers, and other foods are the biggest commodities imported. And I can imagine an excavator being a large chunk of GDP when a population of a nation is under 50. Not 50,000, just 50. Now that you know a bit about this unique land, let's place it on our 60-point scale to see if it's right for your collection. I purchased mine at APMEX, and at the filming of this video, they still have some for sale, so if you want one, make sure you go and get one. When we look at the obverse, we are met with Glenn Davies' effigy of King Charles. He was the engraver who brought us this rendering. It is quite simple as a design goes, and I do think some artistic license maybe should have been played in the field, as that and the face are both mirrored. Simply having one or the other in a satin finish or adding texture would do a lot to help the image pop. There is a severe lack of contrast in my opinion, though the design of Charles' face is fine. I scored a 6. Flipping here to the reverse, I must say I am more pleased in the image I see. This here is an amazing rendering of the HMS Bounty. Boats on coins really do make the inner child in me smile, as they remind me of pirates. This design is simple yet quite effective, as the mosaic of textures dance the light in all directions. I love the subtle wake made by the boats, as well as little things like the anchors towards the rim bringing the image home. I really like this side, and I scored a 10. Mintage is next. The population, as we noted on this island, being under 50 people, the mintage of this coin is quite similar as well, coming in at only 5,000, which is extremely low and scores a 10, and should remind you that if you want to get one, now is the time and tomorrow may be too long. We now sail to cultural significance. It seems that this boat is the genesis to there being inhabitants of the Pitcairn Islands. They are connected in that this, as mentioned, is the boat where the Bounty mutineers and some Tahitian women were brought to flee persecution for their crimes. They are inseparable in theme, and I therefore scored a 10 for cultural significance. We now address collectability. Boats on coins are highly popular. It has always been that way and will likely always be that way. Having a strong historic boat and a low mintage are two key factors in collectability. This coin is from a nation that I would assume most of the UK and Australia would know about, but it is not a subject covered in most US schools. This being said, the largest consumer market in the world would, odds are, not know about the island or history connected to the coin, and that is only a small ding on the score, as there are so few minted that those who do know around the world would likely have a shot at one. I therefore score it an 8. Our last area is uniqueness. We have seen this very boat on coins before, such as this one. This is from the Cook Islands right here. However, I've never seen a coin from these islands, and furthermore, I've never seen a more direct connection of this boat to the island. The design is unique and simple, and as of yet, not replicated. I scored an 8, bringing it to our final thoughts and score. The HMS Bounty finds harbor at a shockingly elite 52 out of 60. At first measure, I thought this would be in the mid to high 40s, but the connection to the island and low mintage made up for points lost in obverse design. This is a very interesting coin and one that I think should be considered for nautical bullion lovers and history buffs. It doesn't strike at the hearts of all, and that is okay. At a mintage of 5,000, it doesn't have to. It just has to find a way to those who are inclined to such themes. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, please remember to stay classy and current with the culture of currency.